All right, good morning officially. Welcome to the Market Watch Group Monday Market Kickoff. My name is Scott. I will be your host. Let's get going. First and foremost, I need to remind you, as always, that what we do is for education illustrative purposes only. Nothing we do should be considered or construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any financial security or product. Decisions made are based on your own risk. We're not brokers. We're not advisors. Good morning, Tony. What are we going to do today? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about market posture. Opening futures and news. We know the news is the upcoming Fed announcement on Wednesday. Right now, it's opening or set to open bullishly, which, again, we said there's a good chance we might have a little bit of continuation. We feel a little buy the rumor, which has us a little concerned about sell the news. So, that's what we have going on. We'll get to take a look. Okay. Opening range. We'll look at the opportunity list. If you didn't see it, if you're new, remember that every week, we put out an opportunity list at the start of the week. Across the sectors that we believe are strong, trying to have a decent sized list that is representative of where the opportunities are. Hopefully you're keeping an eye on that, because 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20 times when we get an alert, it's going to be from that section of the primary watch list. We'll talk about mindset for open trades. We'll talk about what we're expecting, and we'll go from there. All right, let's pop in. Let's start here. Let me make sure everything is reloaded here. Futures are up 0.31, 0.21, 0.25, 0.40. Bullish start. Nice bullish start of the day. What's the news we see dominating the headlines? Futures edge higher as Musk trade lifts Tesla. Musk bought 1 billion shares of his own stock. I guess that's what the news was. I asked about that on Friday. No one responded. Let's see. What else do we notice? That's really about it. We're waiting for Wednesday. We look at the economic calendar. Today we have Empire State Manufacturing. Again, I told you this is a very volatile report, right? A very volatile report. It can fluctuate so wildly. Last time was at 11.9. They were expecting 4.5. We got minus 8.7. And you might think, is that a huge miss? This is a very volatile report. It fluctuates so much, so I don't really put a lot of credence into it. Tomorrow we have some retail sales. We have production, utilization. Again, none of that is expected to be all that illuminating for the market. We're waiting for this, right? And so we may just see it move forward and drift forward into the Wednesday data. So new trades, I'm going to be a little more reluctant. Managing the trades I'm in definitely makes sense. Here's a question. How much are you carrying? Right? How many trades are you carrying now as you're going forward into the week? Give me a sense. Okay. Too many. Too many, Bob says. Got it. Bob Course got plenty. Okay, you got a good number. Bob, 18. All right. All right. So the question is, what should we be doing with those? Should we be paring down? Should we be booking gains? How many are you comfortable carrying into the actual Fed announcement? Now, that's Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You're going to see the actual announcement. What is the announcement going to do? It's going to tell us, is there a cut and how much is it? Then we're going to wait a little bit before we get the press conference. And the press conference is going to tell us what's the verbiage shift. Are we expecting? Is it good? And that's the news. So the news is not the cut itself. The news is not the cut itself. The news is what is the press conference that accompanies it. I think that the 0.25 is baked in. It's baked in. So unless we get some kind of a shock, meaning they give it either a jumbo cut. The jumbo cut would be, I think, favorable to the market. B, there is no cut. That would be very unfavorable to the market. So what's left is what do they do? What do they say as they give us that quarter point? All right. Let's see what the odds of a quarter point are real fast. I think I reloaded this, but let's make sure. Very, very minimal. Very minimal. Okay. As we get ready for the market to open, let's take a look at our posture. What changed? Nothing. That was my prediction on Friday. I didn't think anything was going to change. Long term stayed the same. Long term actually showed some pretty good strength. Let's do a quick recap. Quick recap. Long term, if anything, moved closer to the top of this where it would actually raise my score. But we did not see that. Short term also gave a little bit of a sign of acceleration, which it wasn't enough. But if anything, I was leaning closer to a potential bullish improvement than a bearish regression in my scoring. So one of the things that I look at is, if anything, what's more likely to come next, an increase or a decrease? And so far, these things were closer to something more bullish than going the other direction. Let's jump down and look at volume. Volume, we've had a lot of ties, right? We've had a lot of ties, but we've basically continued grinding higher. You can see here we go again. We're up 0.35 on the open. Okay. Questions about that? Let's go to the next bit. If anything, what were we looking for? Major market If anything, that was close. In fact, a lot of us talked about next week, if we survive the Fed, meaning there's no blips based on what happens this week with the Fed, if we survive that without any hiccups, there's a very good chance that's going to go up to a 1. We were leaning towards it. It was almost there, close to a 1. Here, we're just waiting for one more sector. We're at 3 out of 5 growth sectors in a upper position. So we're closer to what? Closer to seeing it rise. The VIX, I don't think we're going to know until the Fed. So let's stop for a second and talk about that one. Because, let me open this back up. I am curious where we're at on the open on the VIX. I want you to notice, even though the market opened higher, the VIX also opened higher. So it left us, this is subtle but important. This low is still intact. This thing looks like it's trying to cross. My number was 1570 before. That's up here. I might even put that number, well, maybe so. Maybe I leave it there. I take this line and draw it across. If we were to get up here at the end of the day, like that, this would be firing. I'd be like, ooh, that's a higher low. That's a higher low. And I would not be, I'd be thinking about a hedge, especially if I'm already carrying additional bullish trades. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. The VIX is one that we definitely should be paying very close attention to. And I said it could also just kind of grind sideways until we get to Wednesday, which, depending on how the announcement goes, could go either way. If I see this, my score would actually drop a little bit this week. If I see this, my score would improve a little bit this week. If I get back down to this low, then I'm going to be thinking I'm going to put my score back to a 1.5. So by the end of this week, this market could be back to a 6, or we could drop to a 4.5. I think we're obviously at a pivotal moment where a lot is built into the Fed and what the Fed's going to do, what the Fed is going to say. And so, yeah, let's manage closely as we get closer to the actual announcement and then ready to take action based on what we see. Okay, let's go through the watch list and let's see what might be preparing for trades. How things are doing. How's everybody feeling as they look at the open? Hopeful? Bob Walker says we're almost 3/4 of the way through 2025 and our average posture is under 3. Whereas the average posture in 2024 was a 5.73. Very nice stat there. That's interesting. We definitely had our average brought down by going into the negatives when we had all that nonsense around March and April into May. Interesting statistic. Feeling optimistic, David says. I agree. We're holding up and looking more positive than not. And remember that what we're basing that off of is really driven by institutional movement, institutional perspective, institutional sentiment. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Hopeful. Love it. Love it. Let's get to the watch list and let's see. Starting at the top, Apple. I was wondering if Apple might give us an ability through here. We talked about that one crossing last time. It's already starting to go. Maybe looking to pick up a couple of days off of this hike in Ashley. You can see the last time we got a candle like that worked pretty well. Again, it's tough to want to put on a new trade just this close before the announcement, but we'll see. Archer Daniels holding up. Amazon looking like it's trying to turn. Well, you can see we've got some things. Looking for a setup in Amazon. APH is in a flag position right now. Small pullback. It might not take much for it to turn around and go. AVGO in a flag pattern. Great trend. Acceleration into the trend. Looking for this small pullback to set up our next opportunity. AXP. Now, if you missed AXP because it had a fast initial entry here, then it had a hiccup, you have an opportunity. And if you were looking at it, you have an opportunity to say, you know what, this might be what we were looking for. Okay, let's keep going. BAC. I don't know. BTI is rolling over. That was not on our list. Citigroup is one we're in. Still moving. Still looking for potential there. Caterpillar, a little stall. CCJ kind of sitting around. CELH is in a hiccup. CLS is in a setup. This looks like a nice, viable setup right here, right? Little bit of a pullback, looking for the next opportunity. Definitely a setup in there. Relatively speaking, despite the posture, a lot of companies have reached all-time highs. Is it despite? If we're bullish, if it's a 5.25, we're thinking, yeah. Hit away. Coinbase kind of stalled. Cisco trying to bounce off this support level that's clinging. It's clinging to support. Clinging to support. Delta's on a pullback, as is DoorDash, but DoorDash looks viable as it looks to set up. Okay. EA, pause. EXPE, pause. Ford, pause. Futu was actually on my list where I still feel like this is setting up. If it doesn't violate this, I think there's actually a good opportunity on this one. Kind of a more volatile stock here. Okay, let's keep going. How's gold? Gold continuing to move. Google just won't slow down. That's a tough one. I thought I got a windfall in here when it popped. Took it and then watched it only move higher. Very interesting. Goldman still looks bullish. Hasbro still looks like it's trying to set up on that 50-day. Robinhood still in a flag setup position. This one looking strong for a new entry. So I am going to be cautious as we get closer, but I can't just not trade. I'm still going to be looking for trades. IBM looks like it's trying to come out of this next one into a setup. We have already broken out of this consolidation and gotten a higher low. Now we have a higher high, followed by another setting up higher low if that turns into a full signal. Okay, let's keep going. Intel, nothing. IWM, kind of pausing today. Levi is another one that I said I think this could be a nice Heiken Ashi confirmation. That would allow me to put my stop a little closer and then adjust on the second day of the trade. I'm definitely looking at Levi right now as a potential for a trade today. Light, Lumentum, pulling back. Las Vegas Sands. Las Vegas Sands could be at the end of the road. We'll have to look and see if this thing can stabilize. Otherwise, might be a close the other half. That's one that I pared down half. Meta looks like it's trying to come out of this in a hiccup trade. Morgan Stanley still moving higher. Microsoft is a iffy. Micron way overextended. Nothing we can do with that. Netflix is that down a little more than we want. Northrop Grumman, kind of iffy. Nvidia is in a possible setup. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. PGY. Okay, PLTR. A little overextended, looking for a pullback. QQQ, looking still very bullish. Roblox, trying to move higher. Reddit. I was looking for Reddit to pull back, but it's already back up 2%. Let's see if we get a consolidation out of that. RF, looking to see if this can start to move into a momentum mode. Rocket Lab, a little overextended. So you can kind of see it's like a mixed bag. We've got some things that are pushing higher, but look like they could still go. Silver pushing all-time highs there. SoFi, a lot of these that are, again, hopefully you're managing some of these to new highs. If you're having to close. Markets pushing to something better there. Little recovery here on TME. Tesla continuing to smash higher on the Elon Musk trade, apparently. TSM riding at resistance. Uber pushing up a little bit today. Visa possibly a setup developing. Walmart a bit overextended. 1 billion can do that, right? Exactly. So that's the core list. What are we in? We're in management mode. There's not a lot of setups. I see a couple of setups where I'm like, you know what? I would maybe do these. I do see the likelihood of me putting on one trade prior to the Fed. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it earlier than later. So I'm thinking something like the Levi trade for today. Then I want to wait to see the Fed announcement. How does it impact the market? And can I get a trade later in the week? Those of you who are carrying more than 2 or 3 positions, do you see there being a likelihood of you holding through the Fed announcement? That's an important one. And I'm not saying, are you going to hold through? I think, of course, there's some that we hold through because they're still on, they're still viable. We're going to have to be prepared to sit through some volatility. I told you, if you've never done this before. David is asking the exact question I was about to describe. If you've never done this before, go sit down and watch, if possible, a 1-minute chart on SPY or the ES contracts and start about 5 minutes before. And as we get to like 1 minute before, you'll start to see the candles get bigger. And you're like, oh. It's like you can feel it. They get like you think, although in your mind you're like, oh, look how big these candles are. Oh, just wait. So then they're ramping up right before, and then as they give the announcement, that's when you'll see an initial heavy reaction. So let's say we get the 0.25%. I would expect that the market has an initial reaction up. But it'll as the announcement comes, it'll really start to, like, you'll be like, holy crap, look at the size of these 1 minute candles, just outrageous. And then it'll stabilize, but he doesn't start speaking until later. And that's when we really see. So whatever you see in that first half hour, whatever you see in that first half an hour is unlikely to just like, oh, well, that's what it's going to be. No, it's likely to get shook. As we start to hear Powell's comments, people are going to be really hanging on every word. Is it sound like he's open to another cut, or are they going to just watch, or what's going to happen for the remainder of the year? We're expecting there to be some clarity about which priority is starting to be pushed to the front. Watching inflation or watching jobs, right? Because if both are going up, one's got to take precedence. If inflation takes precedence, they're going to leave the rates alone despite there being some increased weakness in the labor market. But if the job weakness is what they're going to start focusing on, then they might cut additional despite the fact that inflation is showing increased pressures. That's the dilemma. So as they process and talk about that, that's what the market's going to be looking for, right? That's what the market's going to be looking for. Added a covered call on Schwab this morning. Okay, that makes sense. Bull put spread on SoFi. I think SoFi has a positive look. Yeah, Cisco looks like it's holding up. Las Vegas Sands does not. I'm going to give it a little bit of time to see if it can, bounce off the morning lows. I agree. Cisco holding support better. Las Vegas Sands is really kind of starting to be like, I don't think I can hold this one. Yeah, and then hopefully your other bullish trades are some of these that are pushing higher. You're watching them. You're moving your stops. You're maybe looking to scale out as we get closer to the Wednesday announcement, etc., etc. That's exactly the type of conversation and action we should be looking at having and taking. I wouldn't expect anything other than momentum carry through over the next day or two. And then is there enough that you would put a new trade on? Great. That's something to think about. And go from there. Absolutely. Questions, comments, concerns. It's funny. Some days we just can't get through the whole list. Other times you're like, oh yeah, really? There's not a lot setting up. I would definitely be focused more on managing trades than putting new trades on. But I am looking at, like I said, the possibility of a new trade before. Something like I saw on Levi. Let's go back to that for just a minute. Just getting this turn. It's just starting to move. We've got plenty of opportunity for some upside here. Getting this thing up near 24 and a half. 24 and a half is, $2.30. 230, and if I put my stop at 21.60, I'm only risking 65 cents to make 230. That's 3.5 to 1. That's a nice continuation trade. Something that I could pick up in 5 or 6 days. We get up into this range, moving the stop along the way. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I think would have potential in the current market. Let me know if you have questions for a new trade. As far as our trading plans, remember the deal. It's not necessarily a deal. It's a request. Remember the request. And that is 30 minutes minimum. 30 minutes minimum. Hours is what we're, really prefer. Right? An hour is preferred. Working on the trading plan. Build your systems, build your rules, be specific. Have a very clear idea of all of these things for any system. What kind of systems might you build? Bounce trade. It's one I love. Right? The bounce trade is a system. You might be like, oh, I get in when this crosses that. That's the trigger. That's not the system. That's the trigger. The system is what are you trying to capitalize on? A bounce off support, a breakthrough resistance, a continuation in a strong trend. Those are 3 primary areas. There are definitely technical systems, but a lot of times people mix the two up where they're like, oh, I have a technical entry, but it really needs to be more of a defined system. So you should be thinking about your stops, your targets, how you're going to manage the trade, what kind of tactics you're going to use to implement, etc., etc. Questions. Ichimoku. Ichimoku actually works pretty well in conjunction with Heikin Ashi, but I find that it lags the Heikin Ashi. It's not one that I myself implement, but I've worked with plenty of people who do put Ichimoku on. It is kind of a trending type indicator, which means it takes a little while for it to get going. So not super quick for momentum turns, but definitely helps to catch strong trends. So, but they do play well. They play well together, Heiken-Ashi and Ichimoku. And why wouldn't they with fun names like that? Ichimoku, Heiken-Ashi. Love it. Love it. Okay, so get that trading plan defined. What's the schedule look like? Remember that the Wednesday evening session has been now pushed to Tuesday mornings, and the Monday evening has been pushed to Tuesday morning. The Wednesday afternoon that Glenn used to do is pushed to Thursday morning, so that we now have all morning coverage. One of the things we're thinking about, I got a lot of strong feedback. One of the things we were thinking about is do we push the start time to right when the market opens, maybe extend it to an hour long session in order to try to catch that 10 o'clock hump for trade entries. A lot of people said they prefer, so I don't know. We're going to look at it and see. Maybe we go 9:15 to 10:15. Maybe we try 9:30 to 10:30. I don't want to have like a bunch of different times because that can be confusing. I mean, you can always find our times on the calendar. But yeah, I am a little bit thinking maybe with Thursday, Friday, we look at a day trader's focus and push it for Glenn, and I might go. Maybe it is good to hit that 10 o'clock hump. So I don't know. We're playing with it. I definitely want your feedback. I definitely want you guys to be weighing in on, what makes sense, what you prefer, what's useful or not useful. So, yeah, let us know. So David Wilson says, I prefer thinking about the market open. I kind of agree. Like, that's where I'm always like, hey, we get to see the futures. We're kind of like, all right, we're amping up. We're stretching together, getting at the starting line together, talking about if we need to move stops, talking about like what we expect. So I lean towards the starting at 15. Glenn was pushing to the other, so we may have alternate start times just to see, and if it's not too confusing, maybe it's helpful. So, yeah, let's see what we do. This should be interesting. I'll keep you posted on it. I'll gather feedback, and if we have to adjust it, we'll adjust it. Great to see everybody. Good start. Yeah, this is what we would hope for, right? I mean, of course, not every trade is going the right way, but hopefully more are than aren't. You're adjusting the ones that aren't. You're locking in some gains. You're looking to do what you need to do to prepare for the upcoming Fed. It's great to see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I get you, Melody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Let's continue the conversation on our circle community. As always, happy trading.